Welcome to the T-Pac Arcade. Today's game is Axelay for the Nintendo Super Famicom. This 1992 shoot-'em-up from Konami greets you with a sentimental and tragic backstory about losing your family in an alien invasion or something. I'm a little foggy on the details because all the text is in Japanese, but to be honest, I don't care anyway. The sooner I skip past these boring cutscenes, the sooner I get to fly around in a spaceship blowing up robots and stuff. Axelay is the kind of game that refuses to get boxed in by standard space shooter conventions. Should it scroll horizontally or vertically? How about both? What are the sub-weapon limits? Limits are for losers. Infinite missiles for everybody. Should we aim for the standard 8 to 10 levels? Not a chance. I've got to do my laundry and go grocery shopping, so let's cap it at 6. How many of the power-ups should the player lose when they die? Lose power-ups? Forget that. Let's give them all back as soon as he gets smoked. And while we're at it, forget collecting them in the first place. Just pick the ones you want at the start of each level and go blow stuff up. Needless to say, a lot of Axelay's design philosophy is right in line with my tastes. It's a short romp with forgiving mechanics and a no-nonsense pick-up-and-play learning curve. Choose your weapons, blast enemies and dodge environmental hazards throughout each level, take out 1 or 2 mid-bosses, then fight the main stage boss and repeat for the next mission. The controls are pretty straightforward too. The main action buttons provide rapid fire of your cannon and auxiliary missiles, and the shoulder buttons swap weapons. But you're free to configure these actions to whatever buttons you want, and you have access to a growing arsenal of powers as you progress in the game. Stuff like fireballs, ground nukes, and even a shield-like circle thing that didn't seem to protect me or damage the enemies in any meaningful way. Konami dropped the ball on that one, but more than made up for it with my 2 favorite weapons, the arcing dual beam and of course the homing lasers. They don't do much damage, but they hit pretty much anything that flies on screen, so it's all good. Especially for someone like me, who misses the compost bin with my banana peels 90% of the time from as little as 2 feet away. I dream of the day when Konami blesses me with real-life homing fruits. With 3 weapons equipped at a time, these powers also act as a sort of life bar. If you get hit by a projectile, your current weapon is disabled. Once they're all disabled, the next hit kills you. Direct collisions also kill you, regardless of how many weapons you've got. But I guess that makes sense. If you get run over by a bus, you won't just lose the contents of your backpack. You'll be a certified street pancake. Axelay is generous with its post-death respawns though. Your ship just materializes right where you left off and it's back to blasting aliens. The only caveat here is that there are limited credits once you lose all your lives. The visuals in Axelay are easily the highlight of the game. It's basically a graphical demo of the Super Famicom's fancy scaling and scrolling capabilities. And the craziest part is, I heard it doesn't even use Nintendo's trademark Mode 7 effects to do it. Regardless, Axelay's claim to fame is the perspective warping in its vertical sections. The environment rolls in from a horizon line near the top of the screen, giving the illusion that you're flying into the distance. And if that wasn't enough, Axelay's art direction is insanely appealing too. Each level is a distinct, beautifully rendered locale with enemies that not only fit the theme, but stand on their own with unique designs. Bulky jets in the clouds, glowing octopus pods in the alien cities, millipede monsters in the caverns, and of course the bosses are a sight to behold. Especially the spider mech, the lava giant, and the multiform final boss, who deconstructs from a huge stationary turret machine into some spindly, flying, ghostly neuron type thing. I had no clue what I was looking at, but it was sick. The sound design goes a long way to complement the visuals too. Most of the chiptunes here have a sort of heroic feel to them, but there are also plenty of ambient, tense tracks to go with the eerie factory and cave stages. And of course, the Super Famicom's signature bass-heavy explosions make their mark here too. I don't know why I have such an affinity for things sounding like mush when they detonate, but Axelay is like, no worries, I got this. The most novel aspect of this game is, like I mentioned earlier, the perspective scrolling levels. Although, I must admit, they suffer a bit from a case of form over function. The most difficult parts of the game come from wrapping your head around how to dodge and attack elements affected by the warp of the scroll. Their positioning feels just a bit ill-defined and hard to judge accurately. The challenge in Axelay isn't too bad though, all things considered. It has 3 difficulty settings, and after practicing the ins and outs of each level with save states, I managed to clear easy mode on a single credit. So it was kind of a legit clear, and I feel pretty good about it. Naturally, my favorite part of Axelay is the graphics, especially the boss designs and how well integrated everything in the game is. Even your own starship looks at least 44.5% cooler than the average space shooter. And if I could change one thing here, I would ditch the perspective levels for more traditional vertical scrolling. I get that it's a neat effect, but when it compromises the gameplay, I'm not too keen on it. Overall, Axelay might just be the coolest shoot-'em-up I've ever played, at least aesthetically. In that respect, it's like the best of Lightning Force, R-Type 3, and Salamander, all smashed together into a mush of appeal that's just as great as the mush of its explosions.